Back to a special episode of Lead Stronger Longer. I'm your host, Stefana Johnson, and today we are continuing a very important conversation with a returning guest, someone whose insights on freedom, morality, and human consciousness are deeply transformative. My guest is Will Keller. He's a freedom activist, animist, anarchist, public speaker, and devoted father. He's on a mission to educate, awaken, and empower humanity. He is the co-host of Natural Freedom League video series, a content creator for the One Great Work Network, and co-creator of the Funnel Conferences. That's Freedom Under Natural Law. Will is passionate about exposing the root causes of human suffering and helping people understand the interconnectedness of conscious parenting, human psychology, natural rights, and natural law. His work is dedicated to breaking down complex philosophical and metaphysical ideas and making them accessible, actionable, and deeply relevant to our everyday lives. So in today's episode, we are going to be diving deeper into what it truly means to live in alignment with natural law, how to reclaim our own sovereignty, and why simplifying profound truths is key to real transformation. So get ready. This is a conversation that will challenge your perspective, I'm sure, and it's going to expand your awareness. I know that. And it is definitely going to inspire you to step into greater personal freedom so you can lead yourself, ideally first, right? Lead stronger, longer. Welcome back, Will.
Stefana, it's a pleasure to be here. Round two. I'm
Round
excited.
two. Yeah. So I have so many questions, but I think that you have something right off that you can share. This word sovereignty has gotten a bit of a buzzword, but if you can break that down, you're so good with etymology. Let's break down sovereignty. Let's see how that relates to freedom.
Sure.
And then let's pull back. We'll pull back the curtain. We'll use that analogy on what freedom really means, because I think that we are in this idea that we're free, but we're free of our own making. We can't see the frame that we're in. If we're in the picture, we can't see the frame, right? We're the birds
Yes.
inside that cage and all of that analogy. So I want to start there, if we can do that. Sovereignty, freedom, let's take it from there.
Absolutely. Yeah, those are really important words. Simplifying those words is actually vital because like you stated, you ask someone, what's freedom? Oh, yeah, I know what freedom is. But the issue is that the majority of people don't actually understand what true freedom is, what that means, how do we get there, and what that means on the individual and societal level. So to define what sovereignty, the definition of sovereignty is a ruler of self. It means that you are the king or queen of yourself, your own actions. Supra, that's where it comes from, supreme ruler of oneself. That's what sovereignty is, that you exist in this reality. You have inherent rights, you have inherent abilities, to move upon the earth, to interact with the earth and its beings, and you are responsible for your actions. In turn, no one else can claim your individual sovereignty. As human beings, we are all sovereigns. But yet when we look at the world, we see, these control structures, we see human beings making that claim upon other humans, animals, the land, the earth, etc. So understanding what sovereignty is, again, that is the definition. But what does that mean? And I think we're going to kind of unpack that as we go, because having a profound realization and understanding the meaning, the bullseye of that, and how that relates to everything that we do as individuals and our relationship with everything else, the human condition that we are experiencing all together.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Just as you were saying that, as soon as you said that, and then you said ruler of self, I saw it. That is a big piece of, I think, what has gotten us into the predicament is our language. And the first time I ever heard green language was listening to Mark Passio's podcast, What on Earth is Happening? And I still don't fully understand what green language means. So, what's green language? And then I would love for you to be able to break down freedom like you just did with sovereign, because I wonder if freedom is actually, here's what I'm getting at. This is my mind thinking. Are we actually booby trapping ourselves by what we're saying, speaking, and thinking within our own minds because we believe something based on language, which I don't think is even natural anyway? Now that I'm learning more, especially knowing that I could speak to someone in a different language and they don't even have certain words in that language. And just getting your mind around that, because we're so in that box of language, and this is how you define everything, and this is the perspective, and this is what how you think, because these are the words you use, and then, oh my gosh, I could go on casting
I
spells
love
and
it.
da 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 da. Okay, so
Yeah.
let's just go back to freedom, and then give me something on green language so I can really understand that.
Sure. Well, language itself is a tool. That's simply what it is. Why I define words and bring it down to the etymology, which etymology means origin. Now we're getting down to the original vibration, the vibratory frequency, and the energy that is encapsulated with these words that we use. So it's a tool. We look at the English language where there's a lot of words that are missing, and we rarely have gender in certain words or contexts versus something like the Greek or the Latin or the Arabic languages. I mean, even, in Spanish and French, there's gender in there, and it's really all encompassing. So it can work against us through ignorance of language, but words are just words. So if I say, to a family, a loved one, I love you, what does that mean? So it represents something. So all words are symbols of an action or a concept, even an abstract thought, but they are a representation of a certain type of energy, level of consciousness, action that's encapsulated with what we are trying to convey. So it is yet what is holding us back, and it is the key to our freedom, to higher awareness, to education, which is to lead one out of the darkness of ignorance. We do that by conveying our words and educating. It is the greatest tool that human beings have, the voice and language. But yet, it's also used to enslave and to enslave oneself and to enslave others through this language and the ignorance of language. So green language touches primarily on what I was talking about with there's a symbolic and an allegorical nature to words and language. When you see a word like seed, right? Seed, as in you plant the seed in the ground. Seed can mean male fertility. It can mean a thought seed that you planted in one's mind that they will kind of, digest, and it could, with care and water and bloom into a concept or a realization. So a word can have multiple meanings and allegories and symbols attached to it. That's what green language is. It's profound. I absolutely love those kind of those pathways. So when we look at the word freedom itself, let's break it up into its constituents. It's two parts, free and dumb. So the last part, dumb, means a state of or a condition of. Doesn't matter if it's, kingdom, freedom. It just means state of or condition of. Free is you are free to exercise and express oneself, meaning that you are free from restriction, being restricted. So when we put them together, we have the state of free will expression that is unrestricted. and unrestrained. Now, when we think about that, we think, yeah, that is freedom. Someone is not coercing me. There is no duress. There's no violence. There's no theft where someone is, stealing from me or taking life, restricting our rights and our ability and our birthright of sovereignty to act in the world and experience and act within this experience we call life, right? So that is what freedom, that's my definition of freedom: unrestricted free will expression. From that definition will lead to a couple other paths logically. You have to ask yourself, okay, what are your rights? That's another pathway. But if you want to like kind of jump in on just freedom itself.
Yeah. Let's just unpack a tiny bit here,
Sure.
because you said, as you defined the state of unrestricted, unrestrained free will expression, I can imagine how many are terrified,
Hmm.
utterly terrified that even their own child would have that. And I'd like to, I would like, of course, a blanket like one size fits all answer. Why? Why? Right? We know it's fear. So what are they afraid of?
Hmm.
Is it because they themselves have harmed? And I could go all down in that whole psychological think of that, but there has to be something with regards to that, because you've simplified everything that we're living in, this construct of why there's so many restrictions, and why, and then the general idea of freedom has been dumbed down, has been watered down, has been made into, it now looks like this, that you hold a flag, you wave a flag and you're free. You're part of freedom, but that has nothing to do with it. If we take it for what you just said, unrestricted, unrestrained, free will expression, then right there, could you imagine? I mean, for me as a mom, because I know that intentionally I led my life as a mom to these young boys. I wanted to raise men who were completely unrestrained, unrestricted by my miasmas, because I knew I had my own garbage. And I knew the moment my son was born, he was this pure, beautiful, clean slate. Only I could disrupt that, or anything that I allowed in his framework or in his consciousness to diminish his free will expression. And yeah, I mean, there's so much there. My mind is just like, whoa, I just want everyone to know this. Freedom is this depth of unrestricted, unrestrained free will expression. And the way the way it should be monitored is not through man-made laws, but natural law, which
That's
you're going to tell us
correct.
about. Yeah. So let's
Absolutely.
so let's go into natural law
Sure.
in empirical ways that we can actually fully digest what this is. We see it, we live it, we know it, but when you say these words natural law, people are just like, want. Why is that? So natural and law, I think, we need to define those two words, break those down, and then build back up this concept of what natural law is and how that relates to freedom.
Absolutely. When kind of a caveat, when I define that term of freedom, a very common response is a fear-based response. Wait a minute, are you saying that we could just do whatever we want? And that immediately goes into, well, human beings aren't responsible. We need some type of control structure, in the world, i.e., government or even religion itself, as to show us the way, to kind of be the mediator of our free will expression. So that fear sinks in, and immediately people get into, destruction and chaos when you think about free will, unrestricted free will expression. Now, we live in the natural world, and even modern science, right, acknowledges constant laws is what they call them. The laws of nature is a vast category, what I call natural law. Let's break down the words. We have natural. Its etymology, its origin is Cometian, ancient Egyptian, and it is pronunciated netcher, NTR. And what that means is creation, simply. So nature, it is non-man-made. And most people would agree with this. When we look at the natural world, the sun, the moon, the elements, these aren't man-made constructs. They're from creation itself. When we look at natural just means of, from, or related to creation. So it's implying creation and creator right there in the word nature. Law itself, the etymology, the correct definition means a unchanging, immutable, and binding condition or dynamic. We can look at some natural laws of thermodynamics, gravitation, the electromagnetic laws that we all interact with every single day. Does not matter if you believe them or not, they are there. You can come to understand them and then align your behavior with them. For instance, you wouldn't jump off a cliff. You wouldn't touch a ground wire on an electrical circuit. You need to understand the laws of nature if you want to fly in a plane, right? Aviation. If you want to sail on a boat, you need to understand the laws of nature. So we do this every day. We've been doing it. Human beings have been doing it for thousands of years, observing nature, observing creation, and coming to an understanding and then harmonizing our behavior and our actions with these laws, right? And we make tools, which is called technology. Now, when I refer to natural law, I am specifically referring to the consequences of human behavior. You touch a ground wire on electrical circuit, you're going to get shocked, cause and effect. You have a campfire and a stove on the campfire, you touch the stove, you will get burned. Guaranteed, right? So there's cause and effect. We see all of this, even with thermodynamics, gravitation, etc. But yet most people do not understand that their day-to-day actions and choices that they make have an influence on the collective condition of society. So natural law in the, like the subcategory that I am referring to, I'm talking about moral law. The definition for natural moral law is a universal, objective, immutable, binding, and non-man-made dynamics that govern the consequences of human beings. And I'm saying human beings on purpose because I am not referring to the animal kingdom, plant, mineral kingdom. You have to have the capacity to understand and to know natural law, moral law, for it to be in effect, because you have human beings, we have free will choice. The animal kingdom is instinctual. Sure, they have a will, but they do not have the hardware or the level of consciousness to make a free will choice. They don't have that self-awareness. So they are, in their nature, in harmony with natural law, just simply by being animals and being instinctual. Human beings, we have a higher capacity and capability of choosing and making a choice. We have higher order thinking, so we can discern a deeper and more profound level of the laws of nature, and we can make that choice to do what is right or what is wrong. And through our choices, our individual choices, we will guaranteed, inevitably, set the stage for the societal condition that we are currently living in. So if we look at the world and we have the eyes and ears and the discernment, and we're able to critically think and see that there are these control structures and that there is violence and duress and enslavement going on in the world. This is the effect of a cause. And that cause is that the majority of human beings do not understand natural law. Therefore, they do not understand the difference between right and wrong action. So through their free will choice, they are making the conscious choice to support, condone immorality and wrongdoings. That leads us to our current human condition. So simply, it is self-induced. Whether someone is ignorant to the knowledge of natural law gets us to this condition, but it does not bypass natural law. Right? Belief is irrelevant. It is there. It's inherent to creation and to nature, and we are bound by it.
Okay, so you've said inherent multiple times now.
Mm-hmm.
And so given that, if we are, let's go back to two things I want to have you unpack as well. So immutable and dynamics, which we'll go back to. But right now, this is something that's, I think, those of us who are trying to avail of ourselves of all this knowledge that's there for us, but to wrap our minds around it, and yet when we get down to it, inherently we should inherently have that knowingness, that sense of right and wrong. I remember being a little girl and knowing the difference between right and wrong very clearly. I didn't need mommy or daddy to tell me. I didn't need anybody else to tell me. I knew the essence. I knew what it felt like to move towards something that was right, move something towards what was wrong. Now, that's in my mind, but we are flip-flopped. In 2025, flip-flopped, and I've seen it over the last, I have become more aware of it over the last 4 and 5 years, that it is so backwards, that right is now wrong and wrong is now right. And if you say anything different, then you're not allowing me to have my diverse, equal opinion about how this should be. Right? Which then it gets all into this other blame and pointing fingers. And it's like, no, I just want to do what's right. I just want to be honest. And I mean, honest from a clean way. There's like, well, I'm just being honest. This is how I feel. You're an ass. Well, like, that's not about right or wrong, right? So then we get into this confusion. And I think where I'm coming from is I am totally in the input stage right now. Like literally I have stumbled on, and I know so many have been down the rabbit hole for over a couple decades now. Well, I'm new in this, and my mind is simply trying to figure all this out. So there's the things that I'm trying to sort out is that how does anyone not get the difference between right and wrong? I mean, come on. It's not that complicated. So that's a big problem for me. The second one is, especially because it's supposed to be inherent, and then you talked about immutable dynamics and free will choice. So to me, that goes back to, well, when I'm sitting there and I know something doesn't feel right to do, and I choose to do it anyway, that's gross. I remember making those literal choices, like in that moment of just like, I'm gonna do it. I felt crappy about that. And that's something that is in my mind to this day because I chose to do that. I couldn't have been more than 5 or 6, right? And I'm like doing something like just poking because I know it'd create an effect. And I knew it was wrong. I knew it was like, why would I do this? Because I want to create this effect. And those are the things that stick with me as opposed to all like, wow, look, Stefani, you've made an amazing life. You're a kind, good person. Why are those bad things still sticking with me? And then, it's like, that's my mind. But then I look at the whole bigger picture of this planet and how could anyone conceive of something to harm another in such a diabolical way that has been done over the last 5 years. It's unbelievable. But apparently not even just the last 5 years. How about let's go back 100 years, even further, that I just didn't want to look at because I want to be happy and have everybody be happy and wonderful, right? It's like I'm going through my little transformation right now, self-awareness and understanding pieces of myself and trying to fit it into this construct of the collective condition of society. Those are your words, collective condition of society. I feel nauseous thinking about that when I step into the collective consciousness condition of society. Why? I don't know if you can answer that, but so because I am sure I'm not the only one feeling this. I am sure anyone on this journey in any phase of the earlier stages, it is terrifying to go through this understanding and even to understand the basic understanding of freedom. I didn't even know what that meant. Sovereign, ruler of self, but it makes so much sense. And then what you said about the Egyptian word for nature, and you said NTR. When you said that and you were describing that, I was literally, it's almost like I had God bumps all over me and I wanted to burst out in tears. So I know that there is an evolution going on. I know that there is a transformation happening more so, I mean, within our divine nature. And I haven't even scratched the surface, and I thought I was pretty darn aware. I thought I was pretty capable and like all of this. So help us understand, especially. So I have different definitions of dynamics, and I want to make sure that I understand these, because I was a long time Scientologist and really indoctrinated heavily into that construct. And so there's a whole thing around dynamics, that the dynamics, we each have our own dynamics and how we survive personally in sex and having children, and then in the, with groups, and then mankind, etc., and then animal kingdom, etc. So I want dynamic, and then immutable, which isn't that it's not changeable. Describe that, and then I didn't take a break. How
No,
are you?
you were on a great tear. That was awesome. You made some really valid points. Sorry, my chicken wants to. There you go. Rescued a chicken over here at my property, so she likes to jump in every once in a while. No, you made some really good points, and yes, morality and natural law, you can discover it and come to understand it logically through the mind, but it's also written on the human heart. So when you were talking about, you can feel it, you can feel when harm is being done, when there's a violation, you can feel the ignorance in society on this most fundamental and vital category of right and wrong. Absolutely, it is. It speaks to the mind and the heart. So when we look at dynamic, the word is it's an energetic force. It's a mechanical force, and you can look at it like that. It is almost, binary, ones and zeros. If this, then that. Cause and effect. So I'm not saying that, nature and this reality is a computer simulation. I'm saying it works like a mechanical machine that is perfect in every way. So if this, then that. That is a dynamic, an energetic force. So, of course, we can have our personal dynamics, our attributes that we are good at. But when we look at creation and nature, these dynamics are there, and we can come to know them, right? We can even put labels on them and unpack those as mentalism, polarity, thermodynamics, cause and effect, rhythm, a simulation. Like there's all of these words, but what do they mean? That's the philosophical realm. That's what human beings are good at, to unpack these concepts and these words and then apply it to our behavior and our worldview and our perception. That is what really matters, right? How the application of that in our experience and how we are contributing to the whole system. So that's how I see a dynamic. Immutable is exactly what you said. It is unchanging. So when I say that natural law is immutable, meaning that it doesn't matter about your perception, what you believe, there is no human interference that can change natural law. It works. Guaranteed. It is true, perfect natural order. It will absolutely provide and give you the consequences of your choices. So there's no way around that. The social engineers, the people that understand this information at a very deep level and they wield it, they use this knowledge to against human beings, right? So it creates, there's a information differential, and that creates a power vacuum. The majority of people do not understand this knowledge. Therefore, they are in ignorance and they are making incorrect choices, which is providing the social engineers with a certain outcome. And they influence that. There's a reason why children can understand right and wrong. Children are closer to that inherent self-realization of how nature operates, and i.e. right and wrong, and how we are all interconnected as well, right? Children don't care about gender or race or what you believe in. They just want to play, right? They see the love in animals and plants and other kids, etc. So the reason for that is that they don't have all that conditioning and programming on top of how they view the world. And I'm referring to, the early formative years. There's a reason why it's called the formative years, 0 through 7 to 8. That is the formatting years. And this absolutely is going to lead us to what human nature is, because this is crucial. When you say something,
wait.
Go for it.
The formative years.
Mm-hmm.
But we know in 2025, most infant to 7-year-olds are now plugged into a device. They're watching their parents with devices. They're watching all of this. And then there's all this input that's definitely not any of it they can process. None of it that they can even understand. So then you said, then that gets us our natural consequence. So
Human nature.
It gets our human nature. Well, we don't want, no, that doesn't, wait a minute.
Yes.
No.
Oh, absolutely. And that's all by design. That's all by design.
Okay, so then you say that's all by design. Who is designing that? Because if there's by design, who's the designer, right? Because we're way past NTR now. We're way past creation. We're way past creation, God, whatever. We're way past that now, aren't we? We can't even go to that realm, because now we've lost freedom. That's been completely tainted. That's completely been covered and occluded, and we don't even know what true freedom is. So now we think that man is God, that the government is God, or the mommy and daddy are God, or whatever. This device is God, or whatever. Oh my goodness.
No, you are correct. You are correct. That's the social engineers. That's how they wield the knowledge of natural law against humanity. So the reason why this is important with the parenting aspect and human nature, because understanding human nature will give you insight to why we are in this condition and how to get out of it.
Okay, so understanding human nature
Mm-hmm.
in and of itself is an effect then. It's an effect. Human nature is an effect if it's coming from the formative years, no?
No. Yes and no. So I'll define what human nature is,
Okay.
right? The nature of something like fire. The nature of fire is that it's hot and it burns, right? Now, nature and condition are separate. So I can say, we can talk about, a campfire. The nature of fire is to burn and it is hot. What is the condition of the campfire? Well, it's just embers, there's no more logs on there. So, the campfire is going out. So we can look at humanity and we can observe the condition of our world, of humanity, of the societal aspects. We can see that we are enslaved. We have all this death and destruction, wars and violence. That's
So
the
we think that's
condition.
normal, but
Most
it's
people,
not human
yes,
nature.
correct,
So human
correct.
nature is not to always be fighting, always be at war, that is a conditioned,
That is it. That is an effect.
that is
That's
an effect.
that is a potentiality. Human nature, right? So what is the nature of human beings? The nature of human beings is that we are creators, little c creators. We have the hardware, we have the spiritual aptitude, and we have the free will to create whatever we want, right? On an individual level. And then that obviously the individual comprises the totality or the collective, which gives us the condition of the collective human species. So human nature is that we are not, if you look at it from a religious sense, depending on what, religion it is, it's original sin. Human beings are inherently evil or bad. So we need to repent. And there's a whole gradient of that, and that's all incorrect. Human nature is that we are programmable, meaning that we can take in information, and then our decision making, our free will choice, will be based upon the information that we have taken in. So, and the actions and the choices that we take, right, that equates to our condition. So how does this relate to the formative years of a child? If a child is taking in incorrect information, then its decision making, when it gets out of the formative years into the teens, preteens, and even into adulthood, it's going to make poor choices because of the information that has been inputted into the young moldable mind.
Okay, I agree. Yes, and what about, maybe it's an anomaly, maybe not, the individual who has been programmed with tainted, wrong, upside down, twisted stuff, but they are still able to make decisions that are for the greatest good, or they're in harmony with what's right, natural law, let's
Sure.
say. Yes, are these
Yeah. Oh,
is this the terminology? Okay.
absolutely. Free
So
will is always there.
free will is always there. Free will
Correct.
is always there.
As a
Yeah,
potential.
as a potential.
I think we talked about it
We're-
in our first episode.
We did. Yes.
Potentiality versus actuality.
Correct.
Hmm.
Yeah. And there's been a lot. I remember having a conversation about, there was some very intellectual folks that were getting together and meeting, and it was all about, is there such thing as free will?
Yes. Yeah.
And I think they were discussing the book. I didn't read the book around free will. I said, of course there's free will, but it was very popular about 3 or 4 years ago, talking about there is no free will and let's have this discussion. And I wonder, is that more just construct of trying to misdirect?
Absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
one of the biggest principles that the social engineers imply is the principle of inversion, like you stated, right? Everything up is down, down is up, etc. They invert everything. So that is a construct for programming and conditioning to mind control human beings, to get them to believe that there is no free will. And you can be on a fully religious spectrum where everything is preordained by God, Or you can be on the other spectrum of analytical materialism, where we are just, chemicals, and that's just, feeding us certain type of chemicals that gives us an input output response, right? It's very machine like. So, and the answer is in the middle. That's the answer. Free will is always that potential. So, but when I say potential, meaning how do you know you are making your own free will choice and you are not being influenced to make a choice? That's what it comes down to. And that's where the internal work comes in. That's where understanding the true method of truth discovery and critical thinking, so one can discern falsities and deception. And that's the big game right there, right? That the social
Yeah.
engineers are playing. It's all about the control of perception.
Okay. Okay. This is huge. This is huge. And this ties straight into everything around conscious parenting, because we have to, as leaders of youth, whether they are your own children or not, we have to lead them with some sense of this. They have to have these tools. Okay.
Absolutely.
You said they numerous times. I need to know who they is. I need any specifics you can give me on they. And
Yeah,
then I need to know the why.
perfect.
Because it's ludicrous. I mean, it's just the whole thing is ludicrous. I've seen lots of documentaries, but come on. I want to know the truth. It was like, oh, that's interesting. Maybe it connected some dots, but there's no real, like, does it come down to the simple thing that you said in the very beginning, which is the moment we have taken off our self rulership and given it to someone else, no one else can do a better self ruling for ourselves than ourselves.
Correct.
But then now we're in this piece of, well, that doesn't make sense because it's based on your formative years, because if you have wrong input, the output's going to be confused, right? And our culture, like you said, with religions, with governments, with communities, there's all that construct of belief. You cannot see, going back to again, you can't see the frame if you're in the picture, right?
That's right.
So
But that potential is always there.
the potential to step out of the frame.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. This is what
Okay,
the
then,
one
then I
great
want to
work
know
is.
exactly how, and I want the step by step. But first, you have to answer the
Sure.
they and the why, and then the
Absolutely.
how.
Great. No, great questions.
All right,
Yep, for
over to
sure.
you then. Let's do it.
And in kind of the black pill communities, right? They might not like this answer so much because it's easier to pinpoint a name or a family,
My
or
brain wants
that's
that.
the that's yeah, I agree. I would like that too. But and there are those people. I mean, the people behind the veil, you will never know their names. You will never see them on TV. They don't do this for money. They do this for life force energy to control. They do it for the loosh, for that fear-based energy. It's a feeding frenzy is what they do. They
But
also
it
do
can't
it.
be feeding anything good. I mean, it cannot
That's what
be
they
feeding
feed off
anything
of.
that's nourishing, though. It's just like it's like Jabba the Hutt or whatever. Like, let's just feed that gross,
Yeah.
slovenly blah thing. What? What? Really?
They
Really?
absolutely they want to revolt against natural law, because natural law is immutable and binding, right? This is God's law. This is the creator's law, laws of creation. They are absolutely bound by those. They don't like that.
And they're fighting it
They want to
every
do
step of the way.
everything in their power to revolt against that. And what better way than to enslave the beings of planet Earth, to literally, quite literally, make this, hell on Earth. So it's a God complex as well, right? They can't be the creator. They can't be change natural law. So they will rule on Earth and enslave in chains everything, all the beings on the planet. And
Okay, I
that,
should say right now that is the stupidest thing, and I'm calling you out. You're all stupid. That's just stupid.
yes,
Knock it off, get over it, get over yourself, and let's move on and create something beautiful. Because I can tell you on the other side of it, it is so much better to be, yeah, in alignment and in harmony with what's right, with
Yeah,
what's truly good within you. Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. Very interesting. Then you kind of explained the why, and then the they, I mean, it's kind of irrelevant, isn't it? Because,
Well, I want to add something very important to that. So, sure, you can follow those rabbit holes going down to the Bavarian Illuminati and the 13 bloodlines, and you can do that. And it goes back, thousands of years to, Sumer and Babylon and all this kind of stuff. And yes, there's some accuracy there, right? But the ones that are creating the issue, so it's like it's bittersweet because the true enemy are the ignorant human beings. The social engineers are the order givers. They are just telling people to do a certain thing. But the people that are creating the action, that the ones that are performing the action, those are the ones that are actually contributing to the condition of slavery. All of the human beings that are completely ignorant to right or wrong and they support the control structure, those are the ones that are pushing slavery forward. So that's why I say it's bittersweet. It's our neighbors, it's our relatives, it's our friends that are ignorant to this stuff. That those are the ones that are contributing to the immorality of the human condition. But yet we need them to pull their head out of the sand and become enlightened with true awareness of the truth of what is going on. That is what, the one great work is ultimately about, educating people.
so
So it is bittersweet. It is tough. It's the
yeah.
hardest thing to do is to try to educate someone that everything they believed and how they were raised is incorrect. And not only incorrect, it is creating harm and violence in the world.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's a
Okay.
tough thing.
Well, and you said ignorant multiple times, and that's the thing. And from Mark Passio saying, ignore,
Yes.
and that's the key. So I can no longer look at that word anymore. They're not ignorant; they are ignoring that
Yes.
part within them, that light within them that knows. And you cannot tell me that someone does not know. They've only ignored it, that light within themselves. And that, I think, simplifies it and goes right back to what you said in the very beginning, which you defined those inherent attributes that are that it's our birthright, right? That's what makes us human versus
Written on the human heart
written
and
on
in
the
the
human.
mind.
Yes, yes. You can't
And
not know that. You can't.
that's
You
right.
can only ignore it. And that I know for sure. I mean, I think that is probably the biggest reason for the sicknesses we have mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. That is the reason for the sicknesses we have. And
Agreed.
so let's go into what is required. I know the one great work, and that is the great work. And I haven't delved into the, I maybe peeked into the Golden Dawn and seen some of the Hermetics and seen, all this mysticism and all this. Well, you're here because I want you to dispel all of that confusion. Maybe it's not confusion. It's just that I haven't availed myself to go and study all of that and to be able to think, okay, this makes sense. This doesn't make sense. I don't, right? And there has to be a more effective way to navigate this path than what I've been doing. And it's interesting because I started listening to Mark Passio's podcast in August of 2024. And I went through the greatest state of massive confusion, internal conflict, internal upset. Now, I'm completely on the yoga, everybody, peace, harmony, let's all get along, vegan for multiple decades, and all this. to the point where I didn't realize I was ignoring that negative stuff. I just hoped for better. Oh, well, let's just pray everything. Let's just home, like, right, this kind of thing. And then I don't know the whole, actually I do a little bit because I am very logical as well, but I really have worked hard to understand that right and left. Now, you also said things like mentalism and all these other labels. And I want to, I wish we could just remove all the labels and just be, then you also said something about the gender. And that made me think yin yang, but I don't think yin yang is just gender, right? So then there's all the hermetics, and do I need to go study all the hermetics? Does anyone need, do we have to go and study all that? And we have to study all this, or do we just shut the F up and go within and study our own selves? I don't know. But as conscious parent, and you, someone who has a daughter, I have two sons, I don't know. I want to know the answer, and I want to be, I want to contribute to, good.
Yeah.
Love,
I
order,
I admire your
without
passion,
being
and I can
ignorant.
see the care. And that's what we need. It's true care, because that's where it starts, like we were talking about, right? The generative polarity on our last conversation, it starts with that care. You have to care about what we're talking about, right? You have to care about the truth. You have to care about what's going on in the world, and right and wrong, and look within yourself. So it's both.
Even when
It's
it is so excruciating, even when you're completely confused, even when you want those answers. So then in wanting those answers, we go seek for those answers. What if we're going now to more confusion, right? I was decades into Scientology, and that was a very big, confusing experience. And yet I was totally immersed in that I could not see any other way out of that. So I understand the religious piece of only thinking that way. Okay, what I would love to know is, where would somebody start? Where would somebody start? Give us what that path is going to look like, and what some of those pitfalls might be, so that they can traverse it in a way that allows, so that they can travel it in a way that allows for them to do what they need to do without losing hope. They can still have the care, all of that. Yeah, that. And I will say, it is the whole concept of conscious parenting. And since I don't know if this is green language, I heard it recently. Pair who rents. So now every time I see parent, I can't even say that word. I'm like, okay, I'm a mom and a dad. And the thing is, we have to consciously be mother and father to our peers and the people around us, and love them and care for them. And I see that now as the one great work. I'm barely into my own work, but is the educating now. That's why I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk about this now. Whereas 6 months ago, forget about it. I'm like, but I'm still talking about my kumbaya stuff, like manifesting and this and all of this, and you know what I mean? Like trying to be a positive thinker, and you can do this, and coaching, and because that's what I do, and I've done it for 30 years. And it's like, no, this is not, we're way out of this. We're in a whole different stratosphere with this game. Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Over to you.
100%.
Okay.
100%. So a place to start. First, we have to understand that there is a problem in the world, and understanding that truth exists. And I'm not talking about knowing the totality of God, of this existence, but we can know aspects of the truth of what is going on, and we can understand and come to know knowledge that is correct and that is truthful, and then we can harmonize our behaviors and actions with that to create change in the world. I mean, that is the first step, the first realization, because there's so many people out there that are in kind of, the black pill, the hopeless mindset of, well, I'm just one person. What can I do? That's where the social engineers want people, that defeatist and nihilistic mentality.
Oh, I didn't
That
realize that's the black pill. Okay.
that's the black pill.
I
Yeah,
didn't
for
realize that.
sure.
Yeah, okay, interesting. And that comes from the Matrix concept. That are we talking pills because of the Matrix? Blue pill, red pill?
Blue pill, red pill. Yeah, there's
That where
black
the
pill, and there's also gold pill. Is actually one that Mark Passio coined
oh,
on what the gold pill is.
interesting.
So many the black pill kind of came up a little bit after, the lockdowns and stuff. And what that means is that it really is an addiction. It's an addiction to the darkness of society, where people are almost information junkies. They just keep following these rabbit holes to discover how bad it is. And they just want to go deeper and darker. And they stay in this hopeless, nothing can change mentality. And that's a pit, right? That's a mental trap, a box, a limiter of consciousness where they want people to be. There's always going to be, not always, but in our current condition, there's going to be events, false flags, wars. There's bad stuff going on and dark stuff. Those are all the effects of a cause. And my point is that taking a step back and understanding that one can know the root of the problem, the heart of the matter, the cause. They can come to know that because it's based in truth, and then they can take action to contribute to ending human slavery, to making a positive difference and change in the world. That absolutely can happen. So the potential is there. The actuality is based upon the free will choice. So it's based on willpower and the care to act, to spend that time and attention and doing what must be done. So, in this day and age where, information deprivation is super popular. I mean, you can spend hours every day on watching people's content. And, I'm just a drop in the bucket. Oh, this person says they have the answers. This person's talking about this cause or this effect, et cetera, et cetera. So how do we discern what is true? How do we discern where our time and focus should be spent wisely? So we ultimately need to go back to the basics. So what you said about going inwards, it's both. It's inwards and then outwards. We need to reconcile and accept that everyone on this planet has been programmed and conditioned with falsities and deceptions since we were kids. And again, that's a gradient. That's different degrees for each person. Some people are still trying to get out. The majority of people are still trying to get out, obviously. So we need to recognize that first and start to unveil all of the programming and the mind control, whether it be it's ultimately your worldview, right? That's what my work and Mark Passio and other people doing the one great work. This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to educate people to change and to influence their worldview, how they perceive the world. And, obviously to recognize natural law, and morality, and the belief in human authority is illegitimate. And we are abdicating our sovereignty and our responsibility, which in my opinion is the ultimate blasphemy of creation. To abdicate your sovereignty to other people, that can be worse than death. It can be, right? Because that's the pathway that leads to the state of the world where, Nazi Germany, Red China, like all of these horrible conditions. That's the path that humanity is heading towards. And that is done by abdicating accountability and responsibility, sovereignty.
And
So,
there it is. There it is. I mean, that's the answer right there.
yeah.
So
Oh,
in every
100%.
single moment, we have to ask ourselves, am I advocating? Am I abdicating? Am I giving away? Am I letting someone else in this moment rule me? Whether my thought, whether my heart, and is it past? I mean, this is the work. This is the therapy work. I trained to be a therapist. Okay,
100%.
well, so this is the therapy work, but we can do it ourselves. And ultimately, we're the only ones, because moment to moment, this is happening. Every single given moment. As you were saying, all the other people out there that are doing this kind of work, and then we go down that path of trying to uncover this. So I did not realize, I think that I inadvertently took the black pill. And I think that that's the dangerous piece, that people really need to understand, that to start this journey, they have to understand what sovereignty is, and that it's not some movement outside of them. It's within them. I thought the
Yep.
sovereignty movement was something outside of me, right? The whole whatever.
Oh yeah,
And so
complete
that's the number one
misdirection.
word. Yeah, that's the number one word, that someone has to understand who they really are, what that really means for them, and taking that full responsibility for everything, past, present, and future of their existence, and every thought that comes in. And probably that is where most have bought into or become the slave, become mind controlled, because they would not, did not, could not, decided not, chose not, whatever, to take responsibility for every thought, emotion, action that they have done
That's
or
right.
will do in the future. And that is the work. And so that's very, very interesting. And I'm committed in this moment right now to actually taking those steps. Very interesting, because I realize, I think there's a lot of us who want to know so much, so we'll get every book there is, and we'll study every book there is, and we'll keep studying and keep studying, but we're not doing the work.
Correct. That's why the
Mm.
great work comes before the one great work. The great work, the magnum opus, is a hermetic phrase, right, in the alchemical tradition, and that is the internal work of distilling and dissolving all the falsities in the mind and in the heart. So what you believe and why you believe it, why you hold beliefs at all, and not come to that understanding of knowing the truth, right? Not believing in it. That internal work, like you said, absolutely is first and must be done. And it's ongoing. But you get to a certain level where you understand the method of critical thinking, of truth discovery. Then you can apply that to the world and to yourself, and you can understand what is going on in the world, the truth, the heart of the matter. Then you can understand what the solution is. Then you can act externally in the world, right? Your act ion, your performing energy in the external world. That's the one great work. Influencing and educating the public on the causal factors of human suffering and slavery, natural law, and what true freedom is, and how we get there.
That would be a perfect place to end.
Okay,
However, I have more questions, but
cool.
there's just a couple things, and then we will end, because that was amazing. And it's like we're in a time warp whenever I'm with you. It's
I
time warp.
love it. It's great.
I'm trying to see how this internal work would work with our children to guide them. And so really, it's not that you have to go and study more. You have to be it, embody it, know it, instead of believe it and try and teach it because you believe this to be true. So you're going to teach this instead. No, you just know it, you live it, you be it, and then others can know it too. Maybe. I don't know about that.
Yeah,
Because it's like with children, they learn what they live, right?
correct.
Not necessarily what you teach them or believe and say is true. They learn what they live ultimately.
Programmable. Human
Yeah.
nature.
Yeah. And then you mentioned navigating the world, and that I think is something that is very scary,
Yeah.
challenging when literally the whole foundation, even though that foundation was a cesspool of lies and internal corruption, cuckoo-ness, that foundation now is not there. And now you're wanting to move forward and put something forth in the world and live in the world and create in the world, but you're not quite whole yet. You're still fragmented because of this. So that would be, go back to the internal work. Yes, keep doing the internal work, and then go out and do this. Like, okay, I'm going to communicate what is on my heart and share this. And even if I used to say this because I talk about health and high performance and leading yourself, meaning having your own power versus operating from a primal place, right? Stimulus response, those kinds of things. And so I would know, okay, well, you have your basic habits and you have all of this. And so that's just more of really coming back and cleaning the rust, cleaning out all the other stuff. My mind's trying to put this into actionable, what we can do. And really, it's not about doing, is it? How many, what are all the Zen proverbs? It's not about doing, it's about being.
Yep.
I don't know, Will. So now I have more
For sure.
questions. You thought I had questions after we got from the last time. Now I have even more. But I think that this needs to be talked about more in this way, especially for someone who's in the journey and doesn't understand it, because I did encourage my son, both of my boys, to go and listen to the podcast with Mark Passio. And I
Excellent.
believe that it has done more harm than good, right? Not generally, because now he has all this information, but it's so much that it's dark pilled in a way. It's like, oh my gosh, right? I
Yeah.
mean, he's
It,
processing it the way he's processing it, but I could see that happen. I could see, and I forgot that what I had gone through, where I'm like, what's the point? It's freaking all hopeless. I can go out there and try and be good and try and do this, but I still have to pay the rent. I still have to buy groceries, and the groceries are going up, and everything around me is like a total shit show. And it's like, what's the point? Because I know that there is something living, divine, wanting to come through me. And I had always known that, so that's what kept me going. And then it was just like, holy crap. All of that's probably all BS. Everything's BS. And all of my, like, everything, every day to my boys, like, I look in your eyes and I see the light in your eyes, and that is divine shining through, coming through to see what it expresses. And I'm here to steward, to keep these clean beings and to give them support and education, and so that they then step on their path of whatever their expression is in the world. And that's what I believe fundamentally, right? And yet I was like, no, because this place is, I don't know. And yet I look out and I see my precious, beautiful hummingbirds that I love feeding, and I can go and find the joy. But then is that ignorance? Is that ignorance that I'm ignoring all the garbage that's around? No, I have to go out and find joy. I have to go out and walk. I have to go find my peace again. Okay, there's the balance. There's the harmony. Whoa. I just want
yes.
folks to know that there is a journey. There is, it's like the Lord of the Rings. There is the journey, and we need to definitely find guides who can support us, and not so much support us, but because no one can at this stage, but they can shed some light, so and get feedback, which is what you're doing, and you're incredible at your ability to stay present and to educate. So thank you for
I
doing
appreciate that.
the work that you're doing, and being willing to share in this way. Because I imagine millions and millions, if not billions, will come this path, and they'll hit up against this darkness that is excruciating, to know the evil that is out there. and to want so much to make it go away magically, to have a pill that magically makes it go away, or to have the controlled opposition, right? That's, yes, please let me just have the lesser of two evils. Please, let's just end this suffering. Let's just make it all, because we just want it to end. But that's not the way, is it?
Absolutely, yeah. That is not the way. That is not the way. Um, you said some really, really good points, and that's why the internal work is continual and is important. You have to free yourself internally first, right? Then step on the path to create change externally in the external world of slavery. So even though there's these horrors going on in the world, and we need to recognize that. And yes, we can be mad, and we should be mad about that. We should have that righteous anger activated. But also in my internal ecology, right, I can see the beauty in myself, in my daughter, in the natural world, in certain relationships. But that still doesn't hinder doing what is right, just because it is the right thing to do, right? It is the truth. And, understanding that we're all connected. So what every individual does adds to the pot, right? Adds to the whole. So having that moral obligation and that moral duty, that speaks to our souls, and we will answer that when we cross over. That's the only thing we take with us, is our morality.
No, and that's so key what you just said, is that, well, right there, in that statement you just said, is that everything is contributing, everything we do, think, feel, act, is contributing to the whole. So we
Correct.
absolutely, even in our own little world, can make a positive difference. So,
100%.
so right there, that's the sign that would say, yeah, you're worth it. So if you have enough data, then that's it. You don't need any more data. Just be, and if nothing else, you spent the rest of your life in every single moment contributing to that collective, that would make a difference. I mean, that's me going back into what can I do that's concrete, and that forevermore can do that. And then I wrote this down earlier, as within, so without, and you kind of touched on that. That's probably a whole other conversation another day.
Hmm.
As within, so without. So we're reflecting that. What's in with us, the fear, all of that, we're reflecting that, and that's coming back. I hear that. I've read that. The scriptures on it, wonderful. I don't get it. I don't fully get it at a depth of a level. I get it in my mind, as within,
Hmm.
so without. And I can say that to my boys. You get what you give. And I've said that since they were littles. And, you know, there's so much more. There's such another level of everything, just another level of our knowledge, our awareness. Whoa,
Yeah.
okay.
That's something that we're here to do as humanity, right? That's how we evolve. As we evolve in harmony with natural law and moral law, we will have a more profound understanding of natural law as well, right? It's as above, so below, as within, so without. It's referring to the holographic nature of reality. So we can observe the human condition, and that gives us insight to, the average individual, ignorant of right and wrong, right? You can come into my home and observe my home, and if it's a cluttered mess, that will give you insight to the state of, my current mental state, right? Maybe I have a lot going on mentally. So there's this holographic nature of reality as well, and that also applies to the solution, right? What Mark calls the law of freedom. As morality increases, freedom increases. As morality decreases, freedom declines. So we are living in a time where we have this profound technology called the internet, computers. You and I can have a philosophical, moral conversation on vital topics, And this can be broadcast all over the world. So as of now, we have the tools that can change the planet. We need the care and the willpower and the knowledge of individuals, and then to act on that. That's what we need.
And there it is. Once again, another perfect ending. Another perfect, just like put a pin in it. And then I'll have to invite you back. We'll have to have a third
These
talk. Oh my
these are the
goodness.
best interviews. You contribute so much, and then your questions. It's fantastic. I'll come on, and I think we should continue this.
I would love to. I
I would
will
love
tell
to.
you, I'm really lit up right now. And I mean, there's so much in me. And I think I would just want to say to anyone on this journey, and this is a different journey. This is an internal journey than weight loss, because it's so interesting. I do more of the tangible, like weight loss and your numbers on your finances and leader, all of that stuff. But this stuff, holy smoke, you can't not know, you can't unknow what you know. But at the same time, and it's more painful to hide from it. So I would just
Mhm.
say, find the information. I have found Will Keller's videos. There are some specific, the ones that you did, the very first one that I saw of yours brought relief. And I don't want to say that I was in that much pain, but I was confused. I didn't know what to do with all this data that I had. And there's so much to get through with Mark Passio's work that I'm not there yet, and I can only digest one at a time, right? And I
Yeah.
can't put it on 2 point times, whatever. I need to process this and see what's going on. So when I saw yours, and so I would just say to everyone, please go to willkeller.com, correct?
Correct. Yep.
And this gentleman, clearly, folks, you can see him speak in a way that is so calm and eloquent, and in a way that is compassionate, not judgy, and allows you, I'm not saying anyone else is judgy, I'm just saying it gives you space as a human to go through what you're going through as you process I don't even know what to call it. It's the cataclysm of just like all that,
It's a paradigm
especially,
shift.
yeah, yeah, especially if you have had a very deep religious piece or deep trauma or any of that, to unravel this, to kind of come, it's like you're coming up for air, but you keep being pushed down, and it's very, it is an intense journey. And to have someone like Will Keller in your corner, and hey, I get to have him on my podcast because I have a podcast. Maybe you should get a podcast and have Will on your podcast.
Let's do
Or
it.
there you go. Or just watch his videos. And then definitely with the funnel conference, isn't that happening like two
Yeah,
weeks,
next
3 weeks?
weekend, the
Next weekend.
22nd and the 23rd. So the Freedom Under Natural Law, the fourth annual conference. The theme is Care to Action for Humanity Rising. So all of these speakers and presenters, they understand natural law and they express it in their own, creative ways. We have some art and some music as well. So it's going to be fantastic. We usually have really good engagement. So I invite everyone. It's free. So come check it out.
Okay, we'll make sure that gets out on all the links, and we share this to our audience for sure. This is, to me, what it means to lead stronger longer. You have to do the deep work, the inner work, and no one can do it for you. That's why you have to lead yourself first. Folks, if I'm not even going to say it. If you're not subscribed yet, you should be, but only because I want to bring more of this to the world. And if it resonates, please do subscribe, write a review, share it, let folks know. This is such important work. I would also like to have you drop a comment. What resonated with you the most? Okay, make sure you follow Will Keller, explore more of his work, and remember, true leadership starts within. Will, thank you so much.